A new homeschool year is just around the corner, and whether you're feeling excited, nervous, anxious, overwhelmed, or a combination of those things, I've got 6 tips to share with you today for a successful homeschool year. If you're new here, I'm Rachel, a second-generation homeschool mom to 5, and let's jump right in. My first tip for you is to choose a curriculum and a style of homeschool that you enjoy and that works well for you. The obvious choice in choosing curriculum is to make sure it works well for your kids, that they're learning from it, it challenges them, that they enjoy it, and that's very important, obviously. But along with that is real important to make sure you, as the parent, as the teacher, enjoy it as well. And there's a couple of reasons this is important. For one, if you enjoy the school, the curriculum you're using to teach your kids, you are so much less likely to end up feeling burnt out or to dread it or to just not want to do it. And so picking something you enjoy will not only help just for your own enjoyment and for your own sake, but also if you are enjoying it, then odds are your child will enjoy it more as well, because there's an element of fake it till you make it, and sometimes we have to just put on a good front and do our best to have a good attitude even if we don't love it, and that's part of the game. But as much as we can to choose curriculum that we love, that brings us joy, really does make a difference. And kind of along with the curriculum we choose is the style of homeschooling that we are striving for. I know how easy it is as a homeschool mom to like the idea to like the idea of something, but then in actuality it doesn't work out so well for us. For example, I really love, oh my goodness, there's a housefly going around me. I don't know if you can see that. But I really like the idea of Charlotte Mason home education, and I do incorporate a lot of those different elements of Charlotte Mason into our routine. The time outside, studying nature, all those kinds of aspects, good literature, I really love all that. But in the past, I kind of at one point thought I might be more aligned with the Charlotte Mason just philosophy and method than I actually am. And the reason being, even though I love all that, and it sounds like just the quintessential peaceful childhood home education experience, and I'm sure for a lot of people it is, and it works really well, and obviously I think Charlotte Mason was an incredible person. But for myself, more of the type A personality and all that, I like having some boxes to check, and I like having some curriculum with more traditional approach and the lessons and just all that stuff. And so we need to realize, is it just the idea I love, or do I actually love it for myself, for my family, my own kids? Because we need that self-examination. Tip number 2 is to create a schedule and routine that works for you. So similar kind of thing, but again, it's really easy to see what other homeschool moms do, whether it's friends or family or people on YouTube or social media. But it's easy to see what others are doing, and it works well for them. They're successful homeschoolers, and so, okay, I'll do it. And there's nothing wrong with getting ideas and encouragement from others. That's great. It's great to be able to see what works well for others. But we need to not get caught up in, again, the idea of something when it might not be what's best for us and best for our kids. So you may love the idea of finishing your school day by 11 o'clock or 12 o'clock, and for some people that's reality, and for some people that's great and it works really well. But for others, maybe you need time in the morning to not just jump right into school, but to have some time to kind of ease into the day, to relax, to have a slow morning. Maybe your kids need to run out some energy before they're expected to sit and do schoolwork. Similar to the curriculum that works for you, make sure your schedule works for you and not what works for others, not what others say is the best, or just what works for you. Tip number 3, and this one is a doozy, but it is to set parameters for your phone usage during your school days. And this one is really hard, guys. Our phones are addicting. They truly are. Whether it's social media, whether it's checking notifications, scrolling through this or that. Honestly, when our phones are out, it is just the habit to grab it. I mean, I'll even just grab my phone if it's out just to check my email when I don't really need to, or check the weather, or things I don't even need to do. It just becomes a habit and it becomes an addiction. And so this is something that I've had times in the past of being pretty good about, and then I've had times in the past of being not great at all. And honestly, over the summer, I've really kind of slid back and not been that great. And so I'm starting this week about really getting back to how I want it to be, the guidelines I want to have for myself on phone usage. And what that looks like for me at this point is basically I am using my phone in the morning whenever I've gotten up and kind of done some of my morning routine stuff, and I only use it until 7 o'clock, which is when my children are allowed to come out.
Mom?
Hi. And then by 7 o'clock, when my kids are up for the day, I'm putting it back in my room so that I'm not tempted to be checking things, I'm not even seeing it or being distracted or anything like that, and then to leave it in my room until our quiet time, which is usually early afternoon. And then when we have our quiet time, I will check things on it, check notifications, whatever I need to do. It's often when I'll do my filming. And then I'll leave it in there after quiet time for the rest of our school day. And ideally, I want to basically be leaving it in my room, not using it until after dinner, possibly bedtime. I haven't quite decided yet. But it is insane, the difference when we are honestly addicted to our phones and constantly being distracted and constantly spending our time on it and just being consumed by our phones versus when we put it away, get rid of the distraction, get rid of the noise, and it gives us so much more headspace to have patience, and this is my experience, to have patience, to have grace, to be so much more present with our kids. And so we can handle things better, in my experience, because we have more patience, we have more grace, and also we can be more present and enjoy our kids and our schooling so much better. I just can't say enough the difference it makes when you have some sort of stipulations on how much you do and you do not use your phone. And so I strongly, strongly encourage you to really think about how much you're on your phone. And even when it doesn't seem like a lot, because it might not be a matter of sitting on your phone for an hour or two nonstop, it might just be, oh, you check it here, you pick it up here, you check it there, you pick it up there, and it adds up. And so I encourage you to really think about that and be honest with yourself. Be honest if you are being too distracted, if it is distracting you from your kids and from your schooling. And if it is, and I think for most of us that honestly is the case, then think about what kind of parameters you can put on your phone usage for yourself before your school year starts. Now, tip number 4 is, what is tip number 4? Tip number 4 is to do less, but focus on doing it better. And so what I mean by this is so much of the time, I'm this way, and I think a lot of us are, we are drawn to all the different curriculums and books and resources because there's a lot of good stuff out there, right? But we are so drawn to it, and we get this and we get that, and we find this and we find that, and then we realize we have way too much. And oftentimes you might put stuff aside and figure it out, but a lot of the time what happens is we end up trying to do so much, and then we have to rush through the things we have because we got to get to the next, and we don't have the time and the flexibility and freedom to really do something well because, okay, we got to finish it, move on to the next thing, we got to finish it, move on to the next thing. And so when we have less and we focus on doing less but doing it really well, it'll be more peaceful and more joyful, and our kids will probably learn a lot more and a lot better than when we just rush through everything. And this is a big tendency, a natural tendency of mine that I've really had to continue working through because I want to check all the boxes, I want to do all these different things, and I want to get so much done. So I'm trying to get better at doing less and doing it well. And when we have that mindset, then it gives us the time and the freedom to dig deeper and delve deeper whenever our kids' curiosity is spiked or when they want to learn more. We want to go off on some rabbit trail, tangent, and just keep learning. That's the beautiful thing about homeschool is we have the ability to do that. And you might be learning about one thing and your kid has some question or curiosity about something that's not even really related to it. But what's to stop us from taking a pause and digging into something else if that's what they're wanting to learn about? Because school isn't about checking boxes, finishing lessons, finishing curriculum. At least that's not what it should be. It is about learning. And my goal with my kids is to have them be lifelong learners. And what better way for them to start having that instilled in them than by not just finishing the lesson, checking a box, move on to the next, but to really dig deep anytime they want to and to go further and go deeper. And so doing less better is so much better than doing more but not being able to do it nearly as well. The fifth tip is all about your expectations. Now, when we expect something to be smooth, easy, painless, no problems, and then problems come up, it surprises us. And when we get surprised by that, we're more likely to be feeling negative about it because it was so hard. I wasn't expecting it to be hard. It was so hard. Versus if we are prepared for things to be hard and we mentally prepare ourselves and we kind of armor ourselves up with just the different things we need, then we can handle it better and it doesn't end up seeming so hard. So I don't think any of us really expect homeschooling to be easy, and yet it seems like we kind of get surprised when struggles come up. Not exactly surprised, but just we're quick to lose our patience and to be frustrated by the difficulties. We're gonna have difficulties. We're gonna have obedience problems. We're gonna have attitude problems. We're gonna have problems are gonna come up in our homeschooling. When you send your kids to school, they have their teacher, and if there's problems, the teacher can send them to the principal. And if there's problems beyond that, the principal sends them home to you. Well, as the homeschool parent, we are the teacher, principal, and we're also the parents that the kids get sent home to. And so we have to have our expectations right so that we are prepared. We know that there's gonna be things that come up, and we need to be pre-armoring ourselves, if that's a word, to have patience and to have grace and to be consistent. And when we have that expectation, as it should be, we will get through it so much better. My sixth and final tip I have for you is about your mindset. And that might sound similar to expectations, but what I mean by mindset is having a mindset where you are allowing all of your tasks and your actions to be worship to God. And no matter what chore or job or task we have to do, if we do it with a servant's heart, then it is an act of worship to God. And that's a beautiful thing. I don't know what jobs there are more so than the job of a homeschool mom where you have an opportunity to be a servant every day, over and over again. And whether it's doing lessons, whether it's reading to our children, whether it's cooking for them or cleaning up after them or driving them around, those moments should not be taken for granted. And I know it's easy to do. All of us do it. I do it. We all do. But the more we can focus our mindset on allowing each of these different tasks and duties to be worship to God, then that really makes a difference in our attitudes. And what I am doing, any one of my tasks or jobs or chores, if I'm thinking about that, if I'm thinking about Jesus watching me and wanting to make him proud, then it makes it a lot easier for me to have a good attitude and to not be grumbling or complaining or, poor me, but to be joyously doing my work for God to make him proud and to be worshiping him. I hope these tips were helpful for you. If you have any of your own favorite tips for a successful homeschool year, then please share them down in the comments. I'd love to hear more ideas. And if you want to see more homeschool ideas, encouragement, resources, book hauls, any homeschool stuff, then make sure you hit that like button and hit that subscribe button so you don't miss the next video. And I'll see you next time.